Our next guest is an associate professor at the University of Washington, where she teaches community health. She's in town promoting her new book, Catching Homelessness, a nurse's story of falling through the safety net. We welcome Josephine Ensign to our live show. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. I said at the beginning of the hour, I started reading the book, and it just lights like a fuse. Not at all what I expected, and again, that really plays into the preconceived notions of a lot of things you cover in this book. But tell us about putting this together, especially catching homelessness.
So the book has aspects of memoir in it. It's about my life. I'm a proud Richmonder, born and raised here for the first 30 years, and a nurse working with people in homelessness in the 1980s. And I kept writing reflections on it as I was working with people who were homeless. And then, of course, when I experienced my own homelessness for about 6 months. And so it was really after my mother's death in 2008, she was a local artist here, Ruth Ensign, that I knew I needed to put it together as a book, and that I also needed to come out of the closet as having experienced homelessness, at least at some level. You know, I recognized my own privilege. I had lots of resources that people don't have, but that's how it came about.
It very much struck me as a memoir book of learning as you go, and then having the courage to share that later. How have people responded to what you reveal in the book?
So for one thing, and you asked about the title, Catching Homelessness, which I have advocated to keep. My publisher kind of pushed against it, but it has double meanings, the safety net, as well as we get into that whole kind of infectious idea of we're going to catch poverty, we're going to catch homelessness. And so I get questions about that. I get questions about my faith, because I did run into issues with a very judgmental Christian faith as part of what happened to me. And but what's satisfying to me is I almost wrote this for my younger self, like things that I wished I had known as a young new graduate from VCU nursing school. And my students are reading it as part of the Common Book at the University of Washington. And then some of them are coming to me and saying, oh, I see a way to do nursing in the future differently. So that to me is very satisfying.
Yeah. It covers so much ground. Again, don't judge it by the cover, because it's a very compact book, but it covers so much ground. You mentioned being a young nursing student. You were a new wife. You were the sole breadwinner. You had a new baby. You were pregnant at the time that you were doing some of this work that was unbelievably, in a way, a lot of people would look at it as dangerous and approaching these situations. So it is very revealing. And that younger self doesn't have the perspective yet of having gone through these experiences.
Exactly. I mean, that's in one of the episodes I have in the book is I was nursing my son Jonathan, who's now 29 and is a great young man. And I had a needle stick, and that was in the height of the HIV/AIDS epidemic. So I had to stop nursing until I made sure that I didn't have hepatitis and HIV. So it's very real. I mean, that kind of like down in the trenches work, safety, things that come up to you, with you. And then also the whole thing about professional burnout, that this is really emotional work. Working with people who have had significant traumas that have contributed to their homelessness, but homelessness itself, not having a safe, affordable place to stay at night, that we know from research is really bad for mental health as well as physical health. So of dealing with that on an ongoing basis and not completely burning out and leaving or having it contribute to depression as it did for me.
As you go through and reconcile these experiences in a way by putting them in a book, and you learn those lessons, what do you hope that folks extract from this? Stay on your path? Not the path, but your path, no matter what it is?
I think what I'm hoping people get out of it is, for one thing, of recognizing the complexity of homelessness. It's what we call a wicked problem. Not that it's evil, but it's, you know, multifactorial. There's no simple solution. And in some ways it can happen to anybody, but in other ways, of course, it can't, because it, you know, is much more going to affect people in poverty, with racism, with all sorts of other kinds of issues, not, you know, no access to good education. So I hope people get out of it more of the complexities of homelessness. It's part of our national conversation now, the complexities of gender-based violence, which of course are part of our national conversation right now, which is important. And then also the very simple but also profound message of housing is healthcare. And we know, again, if you get somebody safe, affordable housing, even if you don't get them mental health treatment or medications, they get better.
Josephine, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
And thank you for putting this together. It's an incredible read, and you have the chance to meet Josephine Ensign as she signs copies of her new book, Catching Homelessness, tonight at 6:30 p.m. at the Fountain Bookstore in Shockoe Slip. So go down, say hello, pick up this book, and have her sign it. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.